Did you start? There's no sound.
Thank you. That it was muted. Okay. Now it's good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it should be on. So the Mishnah, so the Gemara is going to call this as Kshen and Nikr, and three examples. Matame means that somebody was Matame, somebody else's Truma, Hulin, and he made it worth less. But you don't see anything. If you look at it physically, you don't see anything. You don't see any problem. If somebody took Truma and mixed it into somebody else's Hulin, or anybody mix Truma together with Chulin, somebody else's Chulin now is worth less because they only could sell it to Kohanim for the price of Truma. So he damaged him. But you look at it, you don't see any problem. And Amanasech, the words mean they made somebody else's wine, Yain Nesach, which was the wine which was libated for Avodah Zarah. So he made it, again, Asabana, it's worth less.
Why would you consider what it looks like?
That's going to be good. So that's a good question that it's not noticeable. The fact that it's not noticeable maybe has some halachic implications, even though it made it worth less. If it's not recognizable as a kshen nikra, maybe it's a reason to be pater. I'm asking why should that be? Good. So it says in all these cases, the shogi pater makes it chayiv. If he did it intentionally, then he's chayiv to pay. But if he did it unintentionally, he's pater. Usually a mazik, you don't care if you did it intentional or not. If you're a mazik, you have to pay. Over here, if you did it intentional or unintentional, it's pater. The Gemara's first sugya is really a side issue. It's a technicality. It's not the real sugya about hezek shein and nikar. It comes in with a side issue, and that has to do with kamlei b'drabim minei. As yesterday, the question was, what does menasech mean? If menasech means that he poured somebody's wine to avodah zarah, so he's chayiv misa because he did a avodah zarah. So that's going to be a concept called kamlei b'drabim minei. If somebody did an act which incurs two penalties upon him, a capital punishment and also monetary punishment, he's part of the monetary punishment. And therefore, the worst conscience is going to be, if he was menasech, why should it be chayiv when he did it amazing? He's chayiv misa anyway. So that's how the Gemara starts. Itmar, menasech. What does the Mishnah mean when it says menasech? Yes. So what does menasech mean? Rav Amar menasech mamish, Shmuel Amar ma'ariv. Rav says it means he actually was menasech. He really, literally took somebody else's wine and poured it to avodah zarah. And Shmuel says, no, it just means that he mixed already Yain Nesach together with somebody else's wine, so the whole thing became Oseh, because it has Yain Nesach mixed into it. But he didn't do Yain Nesach now. And the Gemara explains why are they arguing? Why Shmuel? Shmuel says Ma'ariv, that he mixed the wines. Why didn't he want to say Rav Sprat that he actually poured the wine to Avodah Zarah? He can't say that Pshat. He's not going to be chayiv for paying for the damage that he did because he's chayiv misa. We leave him with the bigger one. We leave him with the bigger onish. The bigger onish is capital punishment, and if he's not going to be chayiv to pay, so you can't learn that that's Pshat in the Mishnah. And the Gemara explains Rav v'idach. Rav is going to say Kedei Rav Yirmiyah. Dam Rav Yirmiyah mishas hakbahu dekana v'schai b'nafsho lo havi hashas nisa. That there's a difference. It didn't happen at the same time because the chiyuv for the payment is before he poured it. Just picking it up with the intention of pouring it already makes him chayiv. And he's not chayiv misa until he actually pours it. So therefore, it's not called kamei b'drabim minei. Yesterday we had a problem. That what's he chayiv for? He's chayiv for stealing. Rashi sounds a little bit agwa manas legozlo, that he's doing it for the now he's not doing it to steal. He's doing it to damage. He picked it up with the purpose of wanting to. So the Avrohom explained that that's what Rashi means. Rashi means that for some reason he's chayiv for damaging. Well, it's stealing, but because he wants to damage it in a way that he's chayiv to pay. If he's chayiv to pay, so then picking it up for the purpose of damaging it in a way that it's going to be chayiv to pay, he's already chayiv for stealing or for damaging right now. Even if he didn't yet do it, If he's not going to do it, he's not going to do it. But if he does it, from the time that he picks it up, he's already chayiv for the payment. Not for stealing. Yesterday we had a problem, which is still pretty much of a problem. If you take Rashi literally, that he picked it up in order to steal it, that he's chayiv for stealing. It has nothing to do with Kshen and Nikar. The Rashi doesn't mean that. It means he picked it up for the purpose of damaging it. But when you pick it up for the purpose of damaging it, it's considered that you're stealing it from the time that you picked it up. If it's a kind of a damage that you're going to be chayiv for. So it's hence the Mishnah says if he did it with mezid, he's chayiv for the damages. So from the time that he picks it up, he's already chayiv. So it is connected to hezek shein and ikar, but it comes chayiv not at the time that he damaged it, even before. So that's how Rav gets out of the problem. The Avrohom talk about the Shmuel argue on that. The Shmuel agrees, but he doesn't want to say that's the case. Whatever. But Rav says that's the reason why it's not considered kamei b'drabim minei, because it happens at two stages. First, it's chayiv for the money, then it's chayiv later. No, Shmuel. Yes, but now we're explaining how come Rav. Then the Gemara said Shmuel doesn't hold. Yes, yes. And the Gemara is explaining why Shmuel doesn't know like Rav, because he's Chayiv Misa, Kamli B'Drabim. So that's why Shmuel says, I'm not going to say your Pshat. And then the Gemara explained the Idach. What is Rav going to do to answer Shmuel's Kasha? So this is Rav talking. How Rav is going to defend himself to Shmuel's Kasha. The reason really he's talking about it was Menasek Mamish. And it's not Kamli B'Drabim because the Chiv comes at two different times. The Chiv for the money comes at the time that he picked it up, and the Chiv for the libation only comes at the time that he poured it. So that was how Rav was defending himself from Shmuel's Kasha. Bottom line, how come Rav doesn't want to say Shmuel's Pshat? It's also a nice Pshat that he mixed the two wines. He took the Ayin and he mixed it with regular wine, and he made it also. Why does Rav not want to say that? This is very new. This we didn't do yesterday. I was going to tell you, top of the page, Ma'arev, I know, Medameya. It's the same thing. It says two times the same thing. No reason to have two examples for the same thing. It says mixing truma together with chulin. So the same idea would apply to mixing wine with yain nesach together with regular wine. There's no reason to have two cases of this, two applications of the same yisod. And that's how the Gemara says, I know Medameya. Is that good? We wouldn't say, we wouldn't give two examples for the same idea, mamish. It has to be some chiddush over there. There's no chiddush. And the way that you're explaining it, there's no chiddush. So forget a little bit. Oh, yeah. Oh, nobody sees it anyway. Okay, only I'm looking at it. Oh, maybe people on Zoom. Okay. We didn't get the knas yet. We just said Hanu Medameya. Top the first two words. So Rav says he doesn't want to say Shmuel's Pshat because there'd be no chiddush to say two examples of the same thing. The same Menasech and Medameya, both of them are the same things. You're mixing two things together, either Truma together with Chulin or Yain Nesach together with Chulin. So there's no reason to say two applications, two stories of the same idea. It must be there's a chiddush in each one. The Idach, how does Shmuel protect himself? Why does the Mishnah say two examples are the same thing? Ma'arev and Medameya, both the same thing. The Gemara answers, Shmuel's going to say, Knas who? Knas Le'opino. The whole thing is a Knas. The whole payment of it is a Knas. Like the Gemara is going to say, that Hezek Shein and Nikah maybe you really don't have to pay, and only going to pay for a knas. The reason why you're paying now, we're going to come out that it's only a knas to pay for a mazid. We'll get to the Gemara soon. So the whole mission is only chayv because of a penalty. So a penalty, they made penalty only on certain things, only what it says, and you can't learn out one from the other. They didn't make a penalty on all Hezek Shein and Nikah. They only made a penalty on what it says. So if it would have said only Medameya, you wouldn't have known Menasech Ma'arev, and if it would have said Ma'arev, you can't learn one knas from a knas. It means only made a knas on this specific thing. You're not going to go to the shoresh. Oh, you're saying that Hezek Shein and Nikah, we're going to say it's chayiv. No, you only made it on these particular ones. Medameya, and if it says it, it says it. Menasech, Ma'arev. If it doesn't say it, it doesn't say it. And it has to do with probably what people were doing at the time. How come it was necessary to make the knas in this particular scenario, not in that scenario? So Shmuel says, even though it's the exact same yesod, both of them is going to be Ma'arev. You're mixing Truma together with Chulin or Yain Nesach together with wine. It's the same thing, but still, it could have been they made a knas on one and on the other, so it's necessary to say both of them. Rav holds you could learn out knas from knas. And even though they're different applications, it's the same yisod, Hezek Shein and Nikah. So there's no reason that the Mishnah would have said it two times. Well, but the Gemara is a problem. Okay, so you want to say that it's Menasech. If it wouldn't say two mixtures, say mixing Chulin with Truma or mixing Chulin with Yain Nesach, there's no reason to say both of them. Each one is a chiddush on its own. But still, you have to explain why does the Mishnah have three different cases? Menasech, Medame, Menasech. It's good. One is to be Medame Truma. One is to mix Truma and Chulin. One is to pour wine as a libation. But still, why does it have to say? Why can't you learn one from the other? Yes. He holds you could learn so necessary to say Medameya and Ma'arev. But Menasech, it is necessary to say. Why? If you learn knas, say one example. You don't need three examples. Say one example, and we'll learn everything from that knas. So that thing was going to say, Rab's going to say there is a reason why it has to say three different examples. If it's Medameya Menasech, and Rab says Menasech means Menasech Mamash. Three. So Rav says, therefore, I have to say that Menasech means to actually pour it. So now it's not the same. If it's Ma'arev, then it's the same thing. So Rav says it's not the same thing. It's two different things. One is Menasech, but now you also have to explain. So what's the difference? Rav, who does say you can learn one knas from the other knas, why does he have to have to give 3 examples? Say one example, and we'll learn it on our own. Let's see, he's going to say it's tzricha. Shmuel doesn't have to. Shmuel says I don't have to give a reason tzricha. Shmuel says you don't learn one from the other, even if there's no sense. You wouldn't learn one from the other. Whatever they said, they said. They didn't say, they didn't say. But Rav said you could use your sense, but there has to be a reason why my sense would not have told me all these 3 things. If I would have known one, I wouldn't have known the other. Why is that? Tzricha. If it only would have said Matame, I wouldn't have known Matame and Manasseh. Why not? Now Matame alone, we're not sure what it means. What does Matame mean? Is Matame Truma? That's what I was saying the whole time. The Gemara says also Matame Chulin. The word Matame can mean either Truma or Chulin. And the Gemara says either one I wouldn't be able to learn out with Ameya. Eat Truma, have I made a Mishum de Kabbalah said Lava Gamli. He took Truma, Tahora, and he made it Tame. So he ruined it. He ruined it completely. It's not worth anything. Truma to Meya, what could you use it for? Just to use it for fuel. The one could have also said they did an Avera. Maybe we'll throw that in also soon. But that's the reason why it's extreme. The rest of them are not going to be so extreme. He didn't have to the Gamri. We'll see soon. Even Matami Chulin, if the case of Matami was that he's Matami Chulin, also, it's not that it's Mafsad the Gamri. Chulin's fame is still worth something, but Mishum Asal Ligum Tumul Chulin Shagois Israel, because he did something wrong. You're not allowed to be Matami, even the Chulin. You sure you're not allowed to be Matami Truma. You're not allowed to be Matami Chulin in Eretz Israel. You have to keep the Chulin Shabi Torah. So the reason why Matami they made that he should be chayiv, but knas is because he did something wrong. Either he did an iser, or because you mafsed him completely. Abba Medameya, Emelo, Medameya didn't do any iser, besides damaging somebody. But the actual mixing the chulin together with truma, so you'll treat the chulin as if it's truma. He didn't do any avera. And also it's not mafsed the gami because it still has the value of truma. He does it. You wouldn't know that it's tasa. Even if you know Metame is chayiv, not tasa. You wouldn't know that it's chayiv to pay. Even if the Mishnah says that Metame you chayiv to pay because of the damage you caused him, but you wouldn't know that Medameh you chayiv to pay because Medameh is not so bad. Why? First of all, you didn't do an avera. By Metameh, Truma, he did an avera. Metameh Chulin also did an avera. But by Medameh, he didn't do any avera. You took Truma and mixed it together with Chulin. Right. Now it becomes worth less because Truma is the demand is much less. Supply and demand. Only when you did an Issa, or as the Gemara said, because you completely destroyed it. Truma is not worth anything. But Truma, when you have Truma mixed with worth much less, it's worth the price of Truma, but it's not that it will come completely. See, it would not. I would have thought you not chayiv to pay for them. The Ashmina with Ameya, they have to go back now. Let's say same with Ameya, that's a big chiddush already. Even with Ameya, not more often that Truma and Chulin get mixed up more than to be Metame. Maybe they didn't make the payment of Hezek Shen Nikah on being Metame Truma or Metame Chulin because it doesn't happen as often as getting things mixed up together. So that's why it has to say both Metame and Metamea. Why does it have to say the third thing? This is what I'm saying the whole time, that the Manasseh is a chiddush because he did an act of actually libating to Avodah Zarah, and that really incurs a penalty of death. And he should be chayiv misa. But it's a chiddush that is considered the 2 stages: the time of picking it up, the time of pouring it. That's a chiddush. I would have said, there's no, he's not incurring any kind of death penalty. What do you mean the big thing? The other way. Not big Isser. There's no reason to be pater. Manasseh, there's reason to be pater. If it only was saying Metameh, I would say that Manasseh is pater because Kamle B'Drabimine. Mishum the low Kimle B'Drabimine. There's no Kimle B'Drabimine. Aval Manasseh, the Kimle B'Drabimine, Emelo, maybe that's the reason it should be pater because you don't get 2 chiyuvim. And that's what Rav started off with. And Kamash Malon Kid Rabbi Yemiyah, that was the chiddush of Rabbi Yemiyah that it comes in 2 stages. First he picks it up, he's when he chayiv to pay, then he pours it, that's when he's chayiv misa. That's how Rav explains the Mishnah. So he says, Medameya, if you say that Manasseh means Ma'ariv, it's the exact same thing as Medameya. There's no more chiddush one than the other. Shmuel says, you're right, there's no chiddush, but the penalties you can't learn from one another, and I wouldn't have known one if I wouldn't have said the other, even though they're the exact same thing. But Rav says you do learn out one knas from the other knas. Only these different things are all chidushim because one is you're doing an iser, mafsed legamri. This one is chiach. This one is maybe kamle b'drabimine. So there's a chiddush for each one. The Gemara continues. Everyone, no one gave in. Rav says the Mishnah means nafka manasech because it's true. Manasech Medameh is also going to be the same thing, but the Mishnah wouldn't have said it. And Shmuel says that Menasech Mamash would become the Rabbi Minei. Rabban's father, he was called Avrohom the Rabban, like Avrohom the Shmuel. Some people they called on the son's name. Avrohom the Rabban. The father of Rabbi he said over a brisa. The brisa said that there was a Mishnah. We have a Tamim with the Me'er Manaseh, but he said, "But Rishana you won't remember Tamim Manaseh." The original Mishnah was just two examples. They didn't have three examples. Later on, they added on a third example. We have the finished Mishnah already. We have the last version. The updated version was Metame Medamea Manaseh, but the original version was only Metame Manaseh. So there was a Mishnah that said two things: Metame Manaseh, 1 and 3, and then Chazulam Rafa Medamea. And then they stuck in later Tanam. They said also put into the Mishnah also Medamea. So Kalhani Lamali. According to this version, why was it necessary to have first Metame Manaseh? Means the way the Gemara said till now, Manaseh was the last one. Manaseh was the biggest Kiddush that you might think is coming with Rabbi Minei. But here it's very interesting. Here there was Manaseh already, which is not coming. We know, but it's not coming with Rabbi Minei. Once you have Manaseh, means it was going backwards. Once you have Manaseh, why do you need the other Chidushim? Kalani Lamali. Once you have Manaseh, then they put in Medameya Tzricha. Yesh Mina Metame Mishum Delo Kom Levi Di Rabbi Minei. That's true. The first two. That's good. If only said Metame, I wouldn't have Menasech, because that's why I have to say Menasech. We said of Yirmiyah that it's in two stages. One is picking it up, one is pouring it. That's good. Menasech, Menasech, that it becomes Asabana because it's Avodah Zarah, then it becomes completely worthless. What's worth Yayin Nesech? It's not worth anything. But what? It's not. But Metame is not completely destroyed. It's very interesting. The Gemara on page said it is useless. Truma Tamei, what's it worth? It's not worth anything. The Gemara says Truma Tamei is worth something. Why is that? Because you could use it for fuel. You could put the Truma Tamei, you use it as fuel. You're not eating it. Interesting how the Gemara changed. The Gemara, Truma Tamei, yes. Coin. But you could use it to feed his animals. But it's worth much less than the food. It was food, now became an animal. So you might think that's called that it's worth more than the Menasech. Aim low. Maybe you'd be potter for that. And then afterwards they added on a third one. What's the chiddush of Metameya over these two? Yashmin and Hanitati, Mishum the Hefsed Meruba, Abba Metameya, the Hefsed Muad, Aim low, Tzricha. That Metameya is the smallest Hefsed. Menasech is not worth anything because it becomes Avodah Zarah. And Metame becomes Truma Tmeya, worth very little, just for fuel or for animal food. But Medameya, it went down from the price of Chulin to the price of Truma. It was the value, but it's not so much. You might think for Hefsed Muad, maybe they didn't say they'd have to pay for Hezek Shen and Nikar. Kamash meant that you have to. Shmuel doesn't need all this. Shmuel doesn't need anything. Shmuel's Right. So you don't have to any no forest. Doesn't have to make any sense. They just made a penalty on this particular case. Maybe that's what was happening. People were being Metame or Metame or Manasech. Whatever they said. Whatever they didn't say. So this whole explanation is only necessary pointed out. A point to Shmuel. So whatever they wanted to penalize, they have to say specifically. This whole Gemara is going to point out. What is it? What does a Maisa mean? Yeah, very good. Shmuel's very happy because whatever they said, they said. Whatever they didn't say, they didn't say. They said penalty on 2, and then they saw some reason to make a penalty on the 3rd. You don't have to say, oh, that's okay. I thought, yeah. But you don't have to have the whole husband. You don't need the whole explanation according to Shmuel. According to Rav, you need explanation. This one, that one, Svaris. But according to Shmuel, yeah, because if they didn't add it, there wouldn't be. That's the end of the sugya. The whole sugya we had so far was not the meat of the sugya of the Mishnah. It does have a technicality. What does Manasech mean? There's a technicality of Kamle Bid Rabbi Minei. So that was Rav and Shmuel, and that got off on a tangent. But now we're starting the real sugya. When we go back to the Mishnah says Metame Vename Menasech, Shogig is part of the Mezin Eschayim. Some Tikkun Olam. So we're explaining it the whole time in one version, but it's not so simple. Here it wasn't have Machlokes Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Chizkiya. This is the sugya. Amar Chizkiya, Dvar Torah, Echad Shogig, Vechad Mezid Chayiv. With the Raisa, without Tikkun Olam, he'd be Chayiv Shogig also. Hezek Shen and Nikar is Chayiv. My timer, Hezek Shen and Nikar is yes, Shmei Hezek. That is Chayiv to pay. Hezek Shen and Nikar, the Raisa would have to pay. So even if you did it b'shogeg, same way you're mazik, but you broke somebody's bottle b'shogeg. B'shogeg, very nice. It wasn't your fault, but you still have to pay. So here too, with the rice you have to pay. As a sheni nikri, matami by mistake, you matame by mistake, you manaseh by mistake, you still have to pay. So, but they said shogeg is potter. Matam, that's Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam is going to say shogeg is potter. It's not the way we learned all the time. We didn't elaborate too much, but that was the gist of the talk. Usually, damage is always high if shogeg and mezer. But our mission says it's different. Our mission says hezek sheni nikri, that it's only high if mezer if shogeg is potter. Why is that? So Chizkiah says with the Raisa it really is high. Why did they say shogeg is potter over here? It's a fascinating thing that someone did an unnoticeable damage. If he's going to tell the guy, I was with Hami, your stuff by mistake, he's going to say, okay, you have to pay. If he doesn't tell him, he doesn't know. And he goes his happy way. In the order that he should tell him. In the order that he should tell him. Because if he's going to be chayiv, yeah, if he's chayiv, he's not going to want to tell him. He has to be a big tzaddik to tell him. Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. I'm not sure. If it's a hezek, it's a hezek. Even you, just put in parentheses, not to get into it, but even your case of seizing somebody else's food, he would like him to be. He would like to know. So if he said that he's chayiv, if he's gonna, I don't know if the case, but if you say that he's chayiv, he's not gonna want to tell him. Let him eat it. It's fine. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Nobody knows. So, but back to this case. So we want him to know that it's truma tamei. We want to know it's yain nesach. So if he usually you don't have to encourage him to tell him because the guy comes, he sees that my bottle is broken, my bicycle is broken, my car is broken. You don't have to encourage him to admit. But over here, no one's gonna know. And if he's gonna be chayiv, he's not gonna tell him. So the Kash is maybe trying to figure out the answer without seeing the Gemara. So the Gemara says, amazing also. You should encourage him, make him put in order to admit, or else he won't tell. That's what the Gemara says. He held purpose. Why is he doing it amazing? Why is he doing it amazing? He wants to damage somebody. But if you don't tell him, he didn't damage. He didn't damage him. I think he's going to go behind the and laugh. Oh, he's eating chumah tameya. And that's not considered damaging him. It means there's not going to be such a guy that he wants to get the damage in that he's going to eat chumah tameya. That's not such a firm kind of. He wants the damage and they shouldn't be able to eat the food. If you amazed Nami, if you want to make this takan that he should admit, so Mazid also make that he should admit. He says no. He wants to be mazik. He's not going to tell him. He doesn't tell him. He wasn't mazik. Very nice. All this is Chizkiah. All this is Chizkiah that he holds with the Raisa Hezek, and they made a takana, Tikkun Olam, that he should be potter b'shogeg in order that he should admit and tell him. Rav Yochanan is the opposite. Rav Yochanan Mamish is the opposite. The Dvar Torah, Echad Shog Vechad Mezid Potter, really Hezek Shenik is potter because it's not recognizable. Chaim David asked, what if it's not recognizable? That's a question. But it's not considered damage. The fact that you don't see it, even though it's Truma Tmeya, it's Yain Nesach, it's Truma Ma'urav, Truma Duma, but with the Raisa, you're not trying for that because you don't see it. Since you don't see it with physical eyes, with flesh eyes, you don't see it, it's not considered a damage. My time it's not considered a damage with the Raisa, even though it's worth less. Everyone agrees it's worth less, but you're not trying for that kind of a damage. So the Mishnah means Tikkun Olam is it should be chayiv b'mezid. Why did they say that he has to do it chayiv b'mezid? Because if you're going to say hezek the way the Torah says, so then people could be big, very evil, and they could damage somebody without getting away from it, getting away with it. They're going to be with somebody else's taras, or yain nesach, or medameya, and they'll tell them, and they say, I'm pata, protected by the law. Hezek shenik is pata. That he can only should be chayav. Amazing. They did it b'shogeg. But if he did it b'mezid, it's chayav because of that. No, we're saying now hezek shenik nikolosh hezek. We're saying now another way that with the rice is not chayav for unrecognizable hezek. Why? You might ask why not? The might say he damaged him, but Hezek Shenik Alosh Mezek. Chizki holds like that. But Rabbi Yochanan holds Hezek Shenik Alosh Mezek. So really is potter. But then the person will be able to get away with crime. So we took it away. Taking the Olam is fine. Yeah. In order that you should tell him. Very shogeg. I think we're going to say soon not, but that doesn't change anything. The question you ask now, whenever it says, you can ask everybody, when it says potter, doesn't mean even Medina Shemaim. We're getting into the question of Medina Shemaim. We're going to have numbers on the page. So why is it relevant to this? That you know that he should have not. Okay. It could be. I'm saying that since really he's supposed to be chayiv, only because we're scared of the people that are going to be evil, and they're not going to tell him, even though they're really chayiv, they're not going to tell him. But really, on his own, he should want to pay because he really is chayiv. And that could be that. That could be that they're running part of them. Okay, I hear. You're saying that there's no reason why they should have parted him with Medina Shemayim, because the whole point that they should admit. If he's really chayiv, then he's chayiv. And if he likes it or not, he knows that Hashem knows. Okay, but we'll get to the. Oh, you're learning already half the Shas already. You didn't see evil people. We'll get to more. But yeah, there are plenty of cases, right? But the Gemara is going to say another reason soon why maybe he's going to be fine. Okay, so we have machlokas now. We have now an established machlokas Chizkin of Yochanan and the Deraisa. Everyone agrees to the facts. The facts are they're going to be that the Chayiv Mezid is Chayiv Shogig is. But how did it get to that? According to Chizkin, the Deraisa is Chayiv in every case. They're going to part of him b'shogig in order that he should be willing to admit. And according to Avrohom, the rice is put on everything, and the reason why they're mechayivim is that people shouldn't be mazik their fellow man and get away with it. Then why is it raya? Tran. The next Mishnah. This is the next Mishnah, which is really a continuation of our Mishnah. It's a couple of pages later, but it's really our Mishnah. Akonim shepiglu b'mikdash. Mezidim chayavim. That's the Mishnah. A kohen who makes pigul. What does pigul mean? If somebody does the korban, he does the shchita, or one of the avodas, he does it with the intention of eating it or putting it on the mizbeach. Chuslis mano. Putting on the mizbeach. I forgot exactly the details. Put chuslis mano. He had a machshavas chuslis mano. So it makes the korban puzzle. You look at the korban, you don't see anything. And it's called Hezek Shein Nikar. So the Mishnah says an example of Hezek Shein Nikar is pigul. A kohen that made pigul, the kohen is one of those pigul, the one that's doing the avodah. So if he did pigul, the mezid is chayiv to pay because Hezek Shein Nikar. If he did a b'shogig, he's potter. If he did a mezid, he's chayiv. So it's an example of what we just spoke about. We said metamei, medamei, menasech, also mefageh. But the Mishnah doesn't say shogig potter, and our Mishnah says both ways. Shogig potter, mezid chayiv. Here in this Mishnah, it only says mezid is chayiv. The tikkun olam. That's the same as our Mishnah. The whole thing is tikkun olam. Now, what does that mean? Here it doesn't say shogig is potter. Here it says mezid is chayiv. If they tikkun olam, according to Hiskiya, the fact that it's chayiv is not tikkun olam. It's chayiv in adin. The shogig potter is tikkun olam that he should admit. Means which part is the tikkun olam? And our Mishnah, you can't tell because it says shogig is potter, mezid is chayiv, and the reason is tikkun olam. So you don't know which is tikkun olam. But the next Mishnah, which is an example, a continuation of our Mishnah, over there says mezid is chayiv and it says tikkun olam. That means that tikkun olam is to make him chayiv. He should have said that shogig is potter. Mezid is chayiv, not tikkun olam. Mezid is chayiv ben adin. So that's a kasha on Chizkiya. The Mishnah is mashma. The Mishnah with the Brisa is mashma that the tikkun olam is to make him chayiv, like Rabbi Yochanan said. The Brisa is potter, but they made him chayiv midrabanan in order that he should not be mazik somebody and get away with it. So the Gemara says that's what it means. The Gemara is matchik to say that's what it means. That's what it really means. Mezidin chayavin and stick in a shogig peturin. If they tikkun olam, only mezid is chayiv. Means to give it a little knetch. When you say it, say mezid is chayiv, which means that implication is that the shogig is pater. That's tikkun olam. The tikkun olam is where the shogig should be pater, and the raisa should be chayiv. Don't read it plain that say mezid is chayiv because tikkun olam. Only mezid is chayiv if they tikkun olam, because shogig is pater. Right, but we stick in a shogig too and make a diuk and then say tikkun olam is that shogig should be pater. So Hitzki explained himself, so nobody gave in. Hitzki still holds that with the raisa hezek shenik is chayiv. So the kasha again, this kasha is a little bit difficult, the next Gemara, because the Gemara is going to only make it again, tell you the Chitzkin of Yochanan, the kasha and the whole din. Here it says, also, the next Gemara, the Gemara is going to say is only kasha and one man the Yama. It's only kasha and Chizkiah only, and we have to explain why it's not going to be a kasha and a Yochanan. But the simple kasha might be a kasha and everybody. We'll see as we go along. Masr Rabbi Elazar asked the kasha on Chizkiah. It says, or the paras chatas, if somebody does malacha with the water of chatas, mechatas means the water of the paraduma water. You take the paraduma, you burn it, you make ashes, whatever you're supposed to do to make a paraduma, like it says in Parshas Chukas, you mix it with water. If he takes the mechatas and he did malacha with it, it becomes puzzle. It's not kosher anymore to use it to make whatever malacha. Over there, there's a whole parak about it in the Seches Parah. How you do malacha with it, with the water. So this is why it becomes puzzle. Also, paras chatas, that will be the ashes of the or the paras chatas will be the parah itself, the paraduma. You did malacha. Ashalo Allah all. We'll see soon some examples. Maybe it'll be happy on the bottom. But paras chatas means the paraduma itself, or it means the chem parah atzma. Yeah, Rashi says it's talking about the paraduma itself. Paras chatas means the paraduma that you usually want to use for a paraduma, and it's very expensive. They're raising 5 over there from Texas, and if someone's going to do malacha over there, but all say how much money? How much? So he now it has a chain and nicker, right? You look at it, it looks fine, but that's called hezek chain and nicker. You look at it. So here it says he's pater midiradim v'chayv b'dinei shamayim. Bezin doesn't make him pay, but heaven says he has to pay. And the Gemara thinks that it's a reason why he should be pater is because hezek shein and nikah. The Gemara thinks that this issue is hezek shein and nikah. Now the issue, the chorah, there's nothing to do with the Chizkiah and Avrohom. It has to do with the Mishnah. Our Mishnah says shogi is pater, mezid is chayiv, and here it says that he's pater midin adam chayiv b'dinei shamayim. So it's a contradiction in the Mishnah. Doesn't mean what it means. Here it says he's pater midin adam. What's he going on? Is he going on a shogig? Is he going on a mezid? What does that have to do with Chizkiah and Avrohom? If for some reason the Gemara connects it to Chizkiah and Avrohom, the Iyam with Hezek Shein and Nikish Shmei Hezek, he should be chayiv. The Gemara thinks he's talking about a mezid, mezid, and how come you're pater? It says here you're pater. You're chayiv b'dinei shamayim. That's the side point. We tell him that really you have to pay, but really you're pater. But our Mishnah says you're chayiv. So what does that have to do? So that's the Gemara's kasha. But for some reason, the Gemara's pointing a finger at Chizkiah. Why is Avrohom innocent over here? Why is Avrohom any better? So the Mepharshim not bothered by this kasha. Why is the Gemara only asking on Chizkiah l'char kasha and Avrohom also? The Mishnah says you're chayiv. What's the reason why you're chayiv? You're chayiv in Rabbanon because people shouldn't do it. But the Gemara is not going to explain to us, doesn't bother explaining to us why it's only kasha and Chizkiah, why Avrohom is saved. So I don't know. Leave it like that. The Gemara is a Mashal, Maram Shif, they bring a bunch of achron. Maybe they say some Rishonim talk about it. Why is the kasha only on Chizkiah? Why is it not on everybody? It's against the Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that he's chayiv b'mezid, and here it says that he's pater. He's only chayiv b'dinei shamayim. So it's kasha in the Mishnah. So we'll leave it as a kasha, and just look at Marashah if you want. So that's the kasha. Who motiv? He asked the kasha. He answered. It means Rabbi Elazar, Moshe Rabbi Elazar. He asked the kasha, and he himself also found the answer for the kasha. Torah shachnisa leRavaka amanash shetinok letidosh. Kama mechatas sheshakol ben mishkolos. The case we have 2 cases in the Mishnah. It says a paraduma, paras chatas that he did malacha with, or the mechatas that he did malacha with. So I'll tell you a case of each one. Why is pater? You know why he's pater? Not because that's a shein and nikish, a different reason. So the Gemara doesn't say the lumdas are the reason, but it says the case. It says the second case first. It says the case of paras chatas before it says mechatas. The case said, how do you do malach with the paras chatas? He brought it into Revaka. Revaka is what they call, I don't know, when you have the, let's see, that's the Rashi said, Rashi say, yep. The way that they, with the place where they, the corral where they bring the animals, gather the animals, kishu, I think when they tie them together. Revaka sometimes means when they couple them together. But the point is they brought it together with other animals. He has a paraduma that he should be very careful that it shouldn't do malacha. He brought it together with other animals. That it should both nurse. Now that's it's a baby cow, a calf, and it's nursing. That's not a problem of malacha. He put it into the place where it's gonna be nursing. That's okay. That's not malacha. But he also had another motive, the tidosh, that also should be threshing. It means it walks around over there, so it's threshing. So the fact that he had kavanah that it should thresh, that's the malacha. But he didn't mamash do malacha with it. He didn't put a yoke on it. He didn't plow with it. If he would have plowed with it, that would be as a kshen nikah only, and maybe he's b'chayiv then. The animal, the parah. So I said we're doing mechatas, then it says paras chatas. It says two things. So the Gemara is explaining paras chatas before mechatas, and paras chatas means he did malacha with the animal. What did he do? So right, and he also wanted him to thresh. So this is a case where it will be pater, even though hezek shen and nikah would be chayiv. Means the Gemara thought the only reason why he's pater is because hezek shen and nikah, and the Gemara thought that he did malacha mamash. He plowed with him, but then you look at the cow, fine cow, you don't see any problem. That's hezek shen and nikah. The Gemara thought it's pater. Why pater? Amish says chayiv. But the Gemara says no. The case of pater is because it's even less than just hezek shen and nikah. Here it's only because you had the intention that you wanted it to thresh. What's less? So Rashi says, so I don't get the lumdas over here. Rashi says that since the machshava is the only reason why it's possible, means if you would have had the machshava just that it should nurse, even though it's walking around, you didn't do anything, just because you wanted it to thresh. So that's your thought. So that Rashi calls grama ben azaken as pater. That since it's only your thoughts that did it, so it's called the indirect psul. How it fits into the lumdas I don't get, but the Gemara is just get the answer. Then we'll see. Then we'll talk about what the point is. The answer is the kasha was you pater. That's because hezek shen nikah. Hezek shen nikah is chayiv. Point to Chizkiah, then I did it pater, and then I did it chayiv. Point to Chizkiah, point to Yochanan, it's pater, but they said it's chayiv. Whatever the reason is, the mission says it's chayiv. There it says that you did malach with the paraduma. You pater. Why you pater? So the Gemara says no. You pater for a different reason over there because only a grama. Means not every hezek shen nikah is a grama. Maybe it is. We'll talk about it. It's only an indirect. Grama means indirect. You will go in. You caused it indirectly. So what's a classical case of a grama? You damaged only with the grama. You didn't damage directly. You damaged indirectly. So grama ben azaken is part. Maybe you have some cases from the he left poison in front of somebody's animal and he ate it and he got sick. So it's grama. Okay? And maybe that's a good example of grama. Grama means indirect. Yeah, it's called indirect damage. Indirect damage is another reason why it should be pater. Not because it has a kshen nikah, but because even if it will be very nikah, you see the dead animal, whatever, is not because it has a kshen nikah, but because it was done indirectly. The way that you did it is indirect. So Rashi says that the only reason why it becomes possible is because you also intended that it should thresh, and that thought, the thought is what's making it. This is the lumdas that I don't understand. Since it's the thought which is making it possible, that's not called direct. It's not called direct. It's called indirect. The fact that it became possible because of your thought is called the indirect damage. I don't understand the lumdas. I don't understand it. You can say yain. It's called indirect. That's called grama. Grama is called that you caused it, but I didn't do it directly. Because it's only his thought which makes it possible. If it would have been, let's say it the way you want to say it, that he put it, that it would have gone just unearthed. So the fact that it stepped on grain and threshed it, that's not the problem. But because he wanted it to thresh, that's what made it possible. You can say also pouring wine. Pouring wine is not a problem. It's only means pouring the wine for the purpose of libations. So it's his thought which is doing it. That's called the grama. I don't know. But that's the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't say it was grama, but that's how Rashi explains. The Gemara means to say that's only a grama. Another case, that's the answer. The kasha was that he should be chai, hezek sheni nikras chai, if he did it b'mezid. The answer is here, it's potter because it's a grama. Why is it a grama? Rashi explains, because it's only his thought which is making it puzzle. So therefore it's only called indirect. So the reason why potter is because it's indirect hezek. Direct making a malacha would take that you would take the animal. There's no place where there's no mother and milk over there. You're right. You just take it and you pull it around. In a place where only his motivation is what makes it possible. And mechatas, there was the case of mechatas also. What's the case of mechatas, which is only going to be a grama? Or some other reason why you potter? Sheshakal b'hen mishkalos. What was the malacha that you did? That you weighed a weight. Use the water in order to measure a weight. You wanted to know how much it weighs, so you use the water in order to measure that. How do you do that? You take I was going to say in a second. How do you measure something with water? How could you use water to be a scale? Okay, that might be a way that you're going to take. You know that you have a kilo of mechatas, a liter of mechatas, and you put it onto the scale on one side, and the other side you have weight. You want to know that. Right? Okay, that's one way. Good. So that's the case. That it's only called grama. Only called a grama. He didn't do it directly. Is that good? Well, he didn't damage. He did the malacha directly. I don't have a great knowledge. That is indirect. I'm not sure. The Gemara is going to say something that maybe will get us a little closer. But the Gemara is saying that the reason why you put the hezek shem is not a reason you put. Hezek shem could be high. The reason why you put it, that's the fact that you look at the water, you don't see that it's done, that it's dirty or anything. That's not the reason why you put it. Because hezek shem is high. The reason why you put there is because of something indirect. Whatever this is called indirect. The Gemara says it's not a good example. Shakal bahen mishkalos kshera. You didn't do anything. It's kosher. If you use the water to weigh something, like Yaakov said, you put on one side of the scale, so the water is kosher. You didn't do anything. So that's not a good example of saying that you chayiv v'dinei shamayim. You put it completely. You didn't do anything. It's kosher. You didn't damage it at all. Lo kasha ha begufa na bekenegdan. That the case kenegdan means that you did a scale for a scale, like 2 cups on the scale, and that's called kenegdan. That's the case that is kosher. But we're talking about a case where you did it begufa, that in the water itself you weighed it. How do you weigh something in the water itself? So begufa means in the water itself. Kenegdan means opposite the water, corresponding to the water on the other side of the scale. So if it's kenegdan, then it's kosher. You didn't do anything to the water. If it's begufa in the water itself, you weighed something, so then it is puzzle. But the Gemara is still saying, but it's possible, but it's still called enough indirect that it should be considered a grama. How do you weigh something in the water? So displaced water. Displaced, then it wouldn't be. So that would be, so usually when you put the water, the dust, right. So then the displacement would only be for volume. But there's a way to use water to weigh weight. How do you do that? You have a kli, empty kli, that you put on top of, into the tub of water, you have a big pot of water, and you have a small pot kli, and you put the thing you want to weigh into the kli, and you see how much the water level rises on the outside, according to how much the inner kli is going to be submerged, the head, because you make marks on the side, one, because it's going to go down according to how heavy it is. If you just put the piece of meat, the object into the water, whatever you want to weigh, so then it's only going to displace. And it's also going to go up. You'll see how much it gets displaced, how much it goes higher up. But if you have a consistent kli that as you press it down, it goes up, the weight is going to cause how much it should go, how much the water level should go up. So you can have water using as a weight for weight, not only for volume. You take a kilo and you put it in. So you put a mark over there. Every inch is going to be a kilo. You take a kilo and put it into the, and then now you know. Now you take a piece of meat, you put it in. You have a, so you can weigh. You can use water also to be a weight measure also. That's called a gufan. And then it is possible, but it's still considered indirect for some reason, and you're not going to be. And that's why you put it. The Gemara says water becomes possible because you did malacha with the water. Use mechatas for this, and you made it possible. But the reason why you put there is for some reason that it's not called direct. Not only because, but the Gemara, this is the one spell. The Gemara says, the Gemara doesn't understand. The gufan, then it's direct. What's your answer? The answer is not good. You made it. You went too much to the right. First, the Gemara said, "Bekinegdim is kosher." Someone says, "Begufan." Begufan, then it's direct. You directly. There's case of using the mechatas as a scale in begufan in the water itself. So taki is possible. If hezek sheni nikar is going to be chayiv, so then he should be chayiv. It's not called indirect. Why the paras chatas that he brought it in to nurse and to thresh? That's called indirect for some reason. Like Rashi said, because it's only your thought. But over here, this is called you directly or mazik the water. Use the water as a malacha. So the Gemara goes back on this. LED bidi connect. And you're right. And if it would have been begufan, then it would be chayiv to pay even within the adam. The case is that it was connect. Then it was opposite scale. Below kasha. The reason that it's possible, Rabbi says it's kasha if you didn't get your mind off it. You're looking at it the whole time. Shakal ben top line. Shakal ben mishkolas is kshera. That's only if you were thinking about it the whole time to watch that it shouldn't become tummy. But if you forgot about it, you took your mind off of it, then it does become possible. And that's considered again with machshava, and it's called indirect, and you put it because it's a grammar. So Avrohom is asking, a very humble way, he's asking, what does that have to do with malacha? He's saying it's possible because of Mashiach Das. What does that have to do with the malacha then? So how do you ask it? That it's only possible if you did malacha? It has das. So this is Taisa's kasha, Taisa on the top. Malacha the nakat, mishum parah. Nothing to do with malacha. The first case of the second case of paras chatas over there has to do with malacha. But the case of the water in mechatas is not malacha. It means because you're Mashiach Das. Inami, that even though Pasha Mashiach Das, the machmas malacha, feel wachi pater medina, it's a bigger taina, even malacha. But not malacha, Mashiach Das is called indirect. But maybe it's more of a negligence, the fact that you're doing something else, and that's why you're Mashiach Das. Maybe that'd be more reason to be chayiv. So Tais asked the kasha. That why does it say malacha? The point is not malacha at all. So what do we do this now? We have a kasha. The Gemara says it's only kasha and chizkiah. We don't understand superficially why it's only kasha and chizkiah. Kasha and everybody. The Mishnah says that hezek sheni nikar is chayiv. And it says that the case of mechatas, paras chatas, which is l'chor hezek sheni nikar, it says that it's pater. And the Gemara thought it's only pater because hezek sheni nikar. So the Gemara says no, that's not the reason why it's pater. It's pater because it's a grammar. Side point. How you can go now back to the Mishnah. Even the Mishnah that says that hezek sheni nikar is pater, it's still going to be Rama. I said the thing is devalued. That was Chaim Dad was asking in the beginning that the thing is devalued. How can you say pater? So we talk about hezek sheni nikar. We don't see it, but he devalued his merchandise. So maybe it does go back to hezek sheni. You will still be chayiv b'dinei shemayim. It's not going to be better than a grama. So all the cases that it says pater, you should be pater because it still should be chayiv. Mice is worth less. You caused them a damage. You caused them a loss. Maybe we'll see one more sugya, and then we'll see more of Hagdara. Then maybe to go back to what you just said. What you just said, the Torah is telling you the next right. So we didn't yet find the proof. Everyone's safe. Chizkiah, Avrohom, Chizkiah has been at the Raisa, hezek sheni nikar shmezik. Avrohom holds Chizkiah sheni nikar lo shmezik. So we're still trying to figure it out. Masiva Papa. Akasha against Chizkiah. Gazal matbeya. the nifsal. Somebody stole a coin, and before he returned it, it became discontinued. You have these things now in Eretz Yisrael, right? You have all kinds of bills that have become discontinued. Or he stole truma, the nitmes, it became tam. Not that he's mutame, he wasn't. It became tame. How it became tame? He didn't do it. Or he stole chametz, and then Avrahom Pesach, and he comes back to the Kanav and says to the owner, and he says, "I stole from you, and here it is. I give it back to you." He looks at him. What are you talking about? This is already this coin is useless, and this truma is tame. This chametz is after Pesach. It's all worthless. So he says, "This is it. I give back to you. I took about what I stole." That's the end of that Mishnah. He's allowed to use it for payment. If he has this, if he doesn't have the thing anymore, he has to pay the value. He has to pay the value. But if he gives him back the thing itself, he says, "This is your thing. This is what I stole. Here it is." Even though it became devalued. What do you see from that? If you say that hezek shein nikir is considered a damage, so it's considered a damage. He gave him back. He can't say it isn't the same thing. Before it was truma, now it's truma tmeya. Here he didn't do it. Here's not a question of the Gemara is comparing two things now that not the same subject. Amish is talking about he was mazik. I'm coming to him and him for damages. This Gemara is talking about he didn't damage it. That's he wants to know if he can return the same thing. The this Gemara says that the Agdara of Hezek Shem Nikras Pata is because I didn't do anything to it. Not the question of how much you chai for damages. It's not damaged. You see, the Gemara is comparing to a case of Reish Cholov Hanecha. Over there, the issue was not if he damaged it or not. The question is it the same thing still? Is this the same thing that I stole? I stole Truma, I stole Chametz before Pesach, and now it's after Pesach. So we know the halach is that it's asabana, but you look at it, you don't see anything. And it's not chayiv for damaging. You want to know, can I return it? And it says you could return it and give back to him. Of course, you can throw in the garbage because it's Chomash Avrohom Pesach. What can you do with it? But you gave back what you stole, and that means that it didn't. We don't see that it's damaged. So it's a new definition in Hezek Shein Nikra. The one who holds Hezek Shein Nikra is part is because you didn't do anything. He gave him back what he stole. He gave him back. He gave him back what he stole. No, that's the Gemara says not like that. The Gemara says he gave him back what he stole. Right, he didn't do it. No. So he stole. He has to return what he stole. He returned what he stole, and that in this Gemara you see that the Gemara is looking with basar, looking with flesh eyes, and you don't see any problem. Even though if you look at the halachic guys, the halachic glasses, you see that it's ruined. You don't do that. You look at the halacha of damaging and also paying back in gzela is only on the physical level. So the Gemara is comparing it the same way that it's considered the same thing, even though the halacha changed. So you didn't damage also. So that's different, right? Mm-hmm. Even though I caused them a loss of money, I'm not sure. My side caused them a loss of money. He's saying that the money is stolen. I didn't cause it. Okay, maybe. So we don't care about the loss of money. We look at the thing that is it the same thing. We see the same thing. So that's the Madam has a chain and the Gemara says this is a
No. But the Gemara says,
I don't know that. And the Gemara says, here is yours. That's a good payment. It's a good payment. He stole chametz and he gives it back after Pesach and he says, this is your chametz. Remember, this is your chametz. He looks at it and says, after Pesach, it's not worth anything. He says, but remember, this is this. Because I'm giving you back what I stole. And therefore, this is a wipeout. History. Don't know. But we see Hezek Shein Nikra with the Raisa is Lo Shmei Hezek. And what does it mean that our mission that says that he's chayiv? That's what Yochanan says. Tikkun Olam makes him chayiv that he shouldn't go around doing this to people because he's going to damage them and he's not going to get away with it. So we say that he's chayiv b'dinei. He's chayiv if it was b'mezid. Very nice. So we found the Yochanan is right. That's how we passed it. Plus, like Avrohom, that hezek sheino nicker is really with the rice of butter, and with the rice is chayiv, but mezid is chayiv only that he shouldn't go around doing that. What? No, that's a different case. That's a case of paying back a lost object. We're not talking about that. We're talking that the one that's brought that in is a riot to say that it's not considered damage, but we're talking about he was mazik. He gave him back a stolen object. He gave it back. Not a question of amazing. He stole. He stole. Now he's returning what he stole. This is what he stole, and it's not considered change. It's the same thing. Same thing that he stole. The Gemara goes on to another. We have. If we can go a little further, even though we're constantly behind. The Gemara now finds Lema Katanoi. So far, Chizki is all. This Mishnah over there, it says shows that but the Gemara says maybe you could find somebody to support Chizkiah. Lema Katanoi. Hamatame, it's a brisa. Hamatame, Hamadameh, Hamanasech, Echad Shogeg, Echad Mezid Chayiv, Divrei Meir. We didn't know about this. That even though our Mishnah says that only Mezid is Chayiv, but Meir says no, Shogeg is also Chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'Shogeg part of Mezid Chayiv. So our Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, but Meir argues and holds that even Shogeg is Chayiv. And the Gemara is going to just say it outside. The Gemara is going to ask, how could a Meir say Chayiv and Shogeg? If he holds as Kshen and Nikish Meir, then it's very nice. Shogeg Mezid didn't make a tikkun olam that they say that Shogeg should be Pater. But if you hold that Hezek Shem Nikah is really Pater and only made Chayiv Mezid, that makes sense because there's a knas that he shouldn't go around doing it to people. But there's no reason to make a knas on the show. Is a machlok is not the following. Hezek Shem Nikah is Mezid. Really is Chayiv. That's why he's Chayiv. Shogeg Beim Mezid. Omar Stavalosh Mezid and Rabbi Yehuda holds that really is Pater. And we know Tikkun Olam says that he should be Chayiv. That he shouldn't go around doing it. So you have somebody like Rabbi Chizkiah at least. He found Rabbi Meir like Chizkiah. I think Gemara is going to say, no, it's possible that really everybody holds as Kshen Nikah is Pater. And the reason why Meir says Chayiv is because of Knas. And he made a Knas even on the Shogeg. It's not a riot to Chizkiah. Everybody, even Rabbi Meir might hold as Kshen Nikah is Pater. Rabbi Meir made a big Knas. It's true, the Knas only applies to the Mezid. You shouldn't go around doing it. But once you made a Knas, so they made a Knas even on the Shogeg. Myself comes to Shogeg to Mezid, and myself comes to Shogeg to Mezid. That is as far to say you should make a Knas on the Shogeg also. Sometimes the Gemara says that why he comes to Shogeg to Mezid, that'll say it was a Shogeg. He'll do it in a backhanded way, and he really wants to be mazik somebody, but he'll do it in a way that he tripped or something like that. Then he says, "Oh, I'm a Shogeg," and he's going to be Pater. So you have to watch out for that also. So that means that so it's not a right to Chizkiah. It could be that Rabbi Meir also holds Hezek Shen Nikah Losh Hezek, and they made a Knas even on the Shogeg. And Rabbi Yehuda, you have to go back to Rabbi Yehuda also, Agav, that even if whatever he holds, but he says here they didn't make a Knas on the Shogeg. Rabbi Yehuda says that Hezek Shen Nikah Losh Hezek, and they made a Knas that the Mezid should be chayiv, that he shouldn't go around doing it. But the mice you do see that they didn't make a Knas on the Shogeg. So they're arguing about comes to Shogeg, you go to Mezid on you. But then what's the problem with that? This is going to be a contradiction on everybody. Do you make a concentration go to Mezid? This is a general question. When you make a knas, because somebody does it by Mezid, that's why I make a knas. Did they also make a knas on the Shogeg also? So that's a contradiction, and each one is going to be the opposite of what he holds. It's not going to be consistent. The Tanya, Mavashal b'Shabbos, the Shogeg yochal b'Mezid lo yochal. Divrei Meir. Somebody cooked. He didn't. And he cooked as one example. He didn't malach on Shabbos. Is it also to be benefit from that malacha that he did? Somebody cooked on Shabbos. Are you allowed to benefit from that food? So Meir says depends if he did it b'Shogeg or not. If he did it b'Shogeg, he didn't know that it's Shabbos. He didn't know that it's Asa. So you're allowed to eat it. But Mezid, not allowed to eat it. And I don't think we're going to get to that. You're talking about when a guy did malacha, then you have to wait. But if you by a Jew doing malacha, you don't have that concept of the. No, either it's us. Yeah, 99%, 99%. I'm pretty sure. But by a Jew, this is the machlokes here. Meir says, "Mezid you may not eat it, b'Shogeg you may eat it." But I don't think it has to do with Beishing Yasim. It doesn't have to do with Beishing Yasim.
Or
no.
they brought,
So you're not saying the same thing. You're talking about. You're right, but here the question was brought up. But they have to wait after Shabbos as long as it takes to do it. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about waiting after Shabbos as long as it takes, right? So that's what I'm talking about. So I'm saying that only applies to a guy. If a guy did a malacha for you, you're not allowed to benefit after Shabbos, only as long as it would have taken to do after. But by you doing malacha, you don't have that. Either it's us or it's mutter, maybe it's us around Shabbos, but after Shabbos, but you're not going to have that waiting period. So the svar is because what's the svar you make this for Desha Yasin? In order that you shouldn't do it on Shabbos, in order to have the gain of getting it right after Shabbos. But that a Jew is not going to do malacha for that. To tell a guy to do malacha, you might have that Yetzirah. To tell a guy to do malacha, in order that you can gain that time. But you're not going to do malacha on Shabbos for that. So that's only by still guy doesn't apply to a Jew. The Tanya, Shabbos b'shogig. The Meir says amazing. Zasa b'shogig is mutter. Rav Yehuda Omer b'shogig yochal motzei Shabbos. Even b'shogig is only mutter after Shabbos. On Shabbos is also even b'shogig. The Meir says yochal alamis. The Meir says you never allowed to eat it even after Shabbos. Rav Yochanan Sandler Omer, third opinion. B'shogig yochal motzei Shabbos. With what? Okay, but he made. See Rashi? I don't know. I don't know if he makes the. I don't know. I don't know. Forgot. I don't remember. But the Gemara does say a difference between shogig and mezid according to Rav Meir, and Rav Yehuda makes the is even on shogig also. And that's what the Gemara is going to ask. You see that Rav Meir is the one who does not make a knas on shogig, and Rav Meir is the one who does make a knas on shogig. How much he made less than for Rav Meir, but he still made a knas on a shogig. Rav Yochanan Sandler says b'shogig yochel motzei Shabbos lacherim below. Even b'shogig is also to him forever, but other people are also on Shabbos mutter motzei Shabbos. The mezid leyochel alamis lo lachim. If they have a mezid, then no one's allowed to benefit ever. Anyway, leaving alone the Yochanan Sandler just have Yehuda and Rav Meir. Kasha Rav Meir, Kasha Rav Yehuda, Kasha in each one contradiction. Do you kind of shogig to mezid? We wanted to say by case of Hezek Shen Nikah, we see that Rav Meir. You want to say he did make a knas even b'shogig, and Rav Yehuda did not make a knas. And you see the opposite. If Yehuda is the one who makes a knas b'shogig, Rav Meir does not. The Gemara answers, Rav Meir lo kasha, he kanis b'drabanan, but the Raisa lo kanis. There's a difference between the Raisa and the Rabbanan. The case of Bashla b'Shabbos is the Raisa. So there he doesn't think it's necessary to make knas b'shogig because the Raisa is very chomer. But by Rabbanans, the case of us that it was Matamim, Medameh, Manasech, so that's only Rabbanan, means that the payment. The Hezek Shen Nikah, you're going to say Hezek Shen Nikah is really not chayiv, so it's only Rabbanan that is chayiv. So he didn't make a knas on the Rabbanan, he didn't make it on the shogig, only on the mezid. But the Gemara says there's a side problem. But Manasech the Raisu, it's true as far as the Hezek part, because Hezek Shen Nikah was Hezek, but he shouldn't have to make a knas shogig to mezid on Manasech because this is the Raisa to be Manasech. The Chai is going to Rav. The Manasech means Manasech Mamish, so you don't have to be choshish from Manasech Mamish. The answer is there's a deception. Even though usually a maid does not make a knas on the Raisa, shogig to mezid, but by the Avodah it's more chomer, so he did. He made it even on a shogig to mezid. And the kasha is that way also. We had a contradiction. That here we said by Hezek Shen Nikah, Rav Yehuda is not going to shogig to mezid, and by Ma'aser Shabbos, if somebody did on Shabbos, we say it does make a knas on the shogig. That's also a contradiction. Lo kasha, ki lo kanis b'Rabbanan, but the Raisa kanis. Mamish the opposite, which is maybe our easier svara, that it's more reason to make a knas on the Raisa. You can go either way. Sometimes the Chachamim say that will say that the Rabbanan need more chizuk, you have to reinforce it. Say made a knas even on the Rabbanan, the Raisa doesn't need reinforcement. Or the Pasha says the Raisa is more chomer. So Abiyudah holds that, but Rabbanan he didn't make a knas. That's the case of Hezek Shen Nikah. But by the Raisa, he made a knas, and that's why Ma'aser Shabbos is us even b'shogig. But Manasech the Raisa v'lo kanis, the opposite. That we're saying that, but the Raisa you make a knas. Now it's true. Mitzad Hezek Shen Nikah, you're right. That's only Rabbanan. But Mitzad Issa Manasech is the Raisa, and he didn't make a knas. Why not? Because Avodah Zarah so chomer. So on the contrary, people are more. There's no reason to make a knas so much because people separate from it because they're scared of Avodah Zarah. So we just entered into a new sugya called Konstitution Gatu Mezid. The first sugya we had is the main sugya of the Mishnah about Hezek Shein and Nikah. And just to sum it up, it came out that L'chora, it came out that Rabbi Yochanan is right, that Hezek Shein and Nikah with the rice is not the Hezek. Only with Avrohom they made it in order to stop people from doing that because they're going to go around being a nuisance and doing Hezek Shein and Nikah and be part of. The Gemara proved that by saying that you see that you can give back a gzela even though it's not worth anymore. So you see, we don't look at the spiritual damage, we just look at the physical damage. And that's a proof to Rabbi Yochanan. He was trying to save Chizkiah by saying that you find a mayor that says that Shogig is also Chayiv. Against our Mishnah, he holds that Hezek Shein Nikah Shogig is also Chayiv. It must be because Hezek Shein Nikah Shmei Hezek. The Gemara takes away that support from Rabbi Chizkiah saying, no, it's not Muchach. It could be because Rabbi Meir is Kona Shogig go to Mezid. And even though you find other places Rabbi Meir is not Kona Shogig go to Mezid, here, that it's the Rabbanan, he was going to shock to Mezid. And also Avodah Zarah, because it's so chomer. Did a may make a knas on a shogig go to Mezid? That's only to push off that your mayor does not hold like Chizkiah. If you want to say mayor holds like Chizkiah, you could. But the Avrohom will say that he also has a Shein Nikah Lo Shmei Hezek. Maybe a mayor could hold like a Chizkiah as a Shein Nikah Shmei Hezek. Okay, Yashikor.